with Purl Together, and today I'm here with a member of our Purl Together Facebook group, Jimm from Kentucky. Is that right?
Yep, from Mount Sterling, Kentucky.
Okay. So I asked Jimm to be on the podcast because he is one of our first male knitters that's in our group. We have several that are kind of lurking. I mean, over the last year since the group has become more active, we have probably, I'm going to say between 10 and 20 man knitters, but like nobody really, there's only a couple. There's only 2 or 3 of you that ever really pipe up and like say anything or participate. And so I think that's really cool that you do. I think it's awesome that you are comfortable enough to participate with a bunch of crazy women.
Well,
yeah, I think that's fantastic though. So I thought, you've posted some really neat stuff lately, and I just thought it'd be fun to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here. It's, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So cool. So how did you get started knitting? How did you learn?
Well, I started doing yarn crafts when I was 9, much to my mother's chagrin, because I was growing up in Kentucky. And
yeah,
Shay at 9 in Kentucky, and right. So then a few years later, of course, I have my dear old Aunt Wanda, who's passed away now, that taught me how to knit a simple, basic dishcloth. What I'm working on right this second, while I'm sitting here. And it just from there. I actually taught myself with books.
Okay.
I was in and out of school quite a lot because I was sick as a kid.
Right.
So I found this, Mom had this little box with old yarn in it, old Red Heart. It gets better. It was crocheted with and then ripped out and crocheted with and ripped out. So I had like 4 or 6, whatever many plies it is, right, yarn separated. There was no twist.
Oh no. But did you know enough to realize that's going to suck?
Oh yeah. I knew that, but I was going into it with, I'm sitting here watching, it was the 80s, so Sally, Jesse, Raphael, or
with the big red glasses.
Yeah.
I remember that show. Oh my word.
Oh yeah. That was my daytime company while everybody else was gone and I wasn't going to school. So I would sit there with this ancient Red Heart yarn.
Red Heart and Sally Jesse, right?
Right? Glasses and Red Heart yarn.
That's fantastic.
That's where it came from.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any decent stuff? It sounds like you're using like recycled Red Heart and trying to make dishcloths.
Well, recycled Red Heart from years before. Several times recycled. And of course I recycled it more because, all right, I knit this and I don't like what this looks like, so I'll rip it out and start over. And I don't like, so I was adding to the tatteredness of this.
But you were determined. Clearly, you were determined.
Oh yeah, I was determined.
You knew you were digging it even then.
Oh yeah, definitely. I knew that it was. I have to do things with my hands. It's just easier. I can't watch TV and knit without knitting.
Well, I'm sitting here. Yeah, I mean. Oh, and my kids, they get here. We're watching a show the other night as a family, and I'm like, could we just pause it? And they're like, why? And I'm like, because as soon as I'm done eating, if we're watching a show all together, eating dinner, as soon as I'm finished eating, I want to go get my knitting. And I hadn't brought it with me before. And they're all just like, can you not just sit here? I'm like, no.
Oh, no, it doesn't. I can't.
They know that. Right.
You just can't sit for long without.
No, having it. No.
So, yeah, it was.
Well, this was like you're 9 or 10 and you and Sally Jesse are hanging out with Red Heart yarn. So then, and you learned from your great aunt, your Aunt Wanda, but also from various library books, or?
Oh,
this was before YouTube, so Oh,
way before YouTube. The only book I had was Reader's Digest Guide to Needlework, or something like that. So there was just a little bitty thin section given to knitting.
Wow.
So that's where I started, and like. The following year for Christmas or something, I got a new skein of Red Heart yarn. And that's where, and that turned into the first scarf. And
yeah.
So I started it 9 or 10, so I've only been at it for 34 years now.
Well,
So,
yes, you just had a birthday, so I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll get to your birthday gift here in a second. We'll get to that in a minute.
And what a gift it was.
Yes. So that's how you started. But then when did you realize that there were like other options besides Red Heart acrylic?
Years and years later, honestly. Yeah, no, I mean, all of my family's from Northern Ohio. So if you know anybody in that area, all of the women, my grandfather was a pastor, so all the women that I knew were crocheting Afghans with Red Heart yarn. And
right.
But you had, I mean, especially you don't think about other things.
Church lady crafting.
It wasn't until, I want to say maybe 20 years ago, when I got my first knitting book from Elizabeth Zimmerman.
Right.
And that's where I met Schoolhouse Press.
Yes. And the world opened up.
Oh, well, yeah, as long as the world was Schoolhouse Press. Because I'm a yarn snob, and at that point I was a yarn snob for Schoolhouse Press wool.
Right.
And the unspun will forever be my favorite. I love that unspun Icelandic that they sell. Oh,
like it's like a Lopi?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe they started importing it years ago. So, and I didn't find it through Lopi until just recently that was the same stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
that single ply that's just barely twisted at all. It's almost like knitting with pencil roving.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But once it's knit, it becomes very, very sturdy.
Yes, it's fantastic once. Right. Yeah, I made a sweater out of that once, a long time ago. Yeah.
Oh, see, I've used it for lace. I've used it for lace. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was. So
you were in your 20s. You were in your 20s when you did all that?
Yeah, my early 20s. When I found that, and that was just a couple of months before I started teaching a knitting class.
Oh.
The local, it was Hancock Fabric, so it was like one of those chains. I knew the people at the yarn at the fabric store, and they found out I could knit, and they saw my first big knitting project, and we need you to teach. So I started teaching knitting and crochet, and then another quilt class. So I was spending as much time there as I was almost with my regular job. I was.
Wow, so Knitter Jimm is like the fabric store knitter extraordinaire.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I've got great, because you're a guy's knit stories, that.
Yeah, that's great.
The one day we had a lady come flying into the fabric store that says, I need to talk to somebody who's a knitter. And I was the one nearest the door, and I said, that'd be me. No, really, I need to talk to someone who knits, and walked away from.
No.
Oh yeah. And it was like, people with their small-mindedness.
Yeah, and the stereotypes, and I hate that. That's so not cool.
Oh, well, no, it worked out great. She went to the nearest girl that I was working with and asked her, and she's like, no, really, he's the knitting teacher. He's who you need to talk to. So yeah, I mean, you get that sort of stuff sometimes.
So did she come back to you, or was she snotty?
Oh no, she came back to me. We talked about her project and what her.
And you were a nice guy, Jim, and you were gracious about it, I'm sure, even though you wanted to slap her.
Well, yeah, no,
yeah, a little bit.
Could have one more, and she may have got it. But so yeah, just it's. See, I was so ingrained with Schoolhouse Press products. I had bought the DVD, or they were still on VHS at the time. They weren't even DVDs. I had a collection of the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Even today, I have a problem saying stockinette stitch, because Elizabeth Zimmerman was English, and the English term is stocking stitch.
Right.
Got stocking garter.
Right.
And yeah, stockinette's just out there.
That's how you learn.
I actually called to place an order once upon a time, because Elizabeth Zimmerman's the knitting grandma of the U.S. She really brought it in the 50s. I called to place an order, and I was speaking with Meg from there. She was giving her my order, and we started talking about color pattern knitting. Mm-hmm. And she has a different way that she holds her yarn that she can do. That I couldn't carry one over these two fingers. That would just that's
right.
And well, Elizabeth taught me to do it one color in each hand.
Right.
And Elizabeth had already been gone for a few years at that point when I said that's how she taught me too, because it was with the videos and the books.
Right. So you're on the phone with Meg Swanson, and she's trying to tell you how to.
Yeah. One of her videos.
Right.
One of her videos, she carries a yarn over that finger and a second yarn over this finger.
Right. I've seen that. I can't do it.
It's completely foreign to me.
Yeah. And then have you seen those like thimble thingies that you can get that have the wire guides? And I have never tried one. Have you ever tried one of those?
I tried one, and I had problems with it with worsted weight yarn. The project that I'm doing right now is such thin yarn. Uh-huh. It's a very, very super fine yarn. And I end up carrying both colors over the one finger, and I have to pick what I'm doing. Okay. So when I'm watching TV, I've got one project going for TV and another for when I'm listening to an audiobook that I have to watch.
Right.
Because, other than that, your hands know what they're doing. They can
go with that. Now, do you knit continental or are you a thrower?
Continental.
Oh. I figured that when you said colors that I can pick. And I'm a thrower, and I'm not very fast. And
yeah, like I have to go between the two different things. I'm assuming that it's because I started out as a crocheter, and that's the hand you get used to tensioning with.
Yes, certainly.
So yeah, I can do both, but it's normally I just do continental.
Yeah.
And lately, I've been dabbling with this Portuguese knitting.
Yeah. But if you're gonna do garter stitch, that's fantastic because you just do the thumb and. You have a pin thing, or you just go around your neck?
I actually have a pendant that my guy made for me.
Cool.
Yeah, I should have carried it in here, but I didn't.
That's right. Is it wooden or?
It's actually a metal lobster claw clutch that's a pretty good sized lobster claw clutch. I guess it's about half an inch, maybe. Maybe 14 millimeters.
Right.
And he did the wax cord, and then he wrapped it a few times. So I have this little lobster claw catch.
Right.
That
makes sense. Sure.
Well, and that way it goes in and out easy. So if I can knit continental, and then I can purl Portuguese.
Right. That makes sense. So what are you working on now? I know you said you're doing the dishcloth thing right there.
I've got a dishcloth thing right
here.
Just
because we're visiting. But show us some of the stuff you've been working on lately.
Okay, some of the things I've been doing. Let me get these last two stitches.
When we were messaging back and forth, I got the impression you've done some pretty complicated business there.
Oh, I have. My first, I can tell you my most complicated, I think, that I started with was my first adult size sweater was a cable sweater. It was Aran pattern knee length coat that gets split up this front. That was my first adult size sweater.
And you still have it?
I do, but it's in storage right now. It's one of those things it's great to bring out for knitting class.
Right.
And we've moved across the country like 6 times in the last handful of years.
So and being in Kentucky, you may or may not have weather
for a big wool coat.
You really need that much.
Big wool coat. One of the things I worked on that I need to get a picture of to put on the Ravelry page. I think you can see it's a little bit of a cable.
Oh,
but
no, show us again because you were off to the left.
I'm sorry. Oh, I went the wrong direction. I'm sorry.
There you go. All right.
Yeah. And this thing is miles upon miles.
Oh, it is. What yarn is that?
It has never end. It is Zakarian Big Cakes.
Okay, so that's how you get the shifting. Right.
Yeah, right. He, like I said, my husband wanted a long scarf. He wants 3 wraps around the neck and still hangs on both sides down close to your knee. So I used 2 whole big cakes.
Oh my gosh.
I went through 2 big cakes, and then I said, that's as big as it's going to get.
That's enough of that. But clearly he's knit worthy, given that he bought you those needles for your birthday. Holy smokes, tell us about that.
Okay, the needles I got the complete, but I can't think. I have problems with remembering words sometimes. Even those fabulous ChiaoGoo needles, these with the nice red cord with no memory at all.
Love it.
Got the complete set, the 2 through 15, and I got the sock knitter set in the little zipper.
Yeah, the minis?
Well, I have the minis and I have the shorties.
Okay.
There's the minis, that's like the mini lace one, and then there's the little red case with the shorties in.
Yeah.
And got the sock needle. It's in the same kind of case as the big one that zips.
Right.
And that's 00002 or something.
Yeah.
No, that's yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, so an incredible birthday gift.
Well done, Jimm's guy. That's awesome. Right? I know you posted about that in the group, and everybody's like, oh my word, does he have a brother?
Yeah, right?
Now they want to know if you're going to lend him out, right?
Right? Well, every other Thursday. I'm every other Thursday. And there's not a lot here because I've started this project no less than at least 6 times. Try to get this little bitty thing in there.
Why have you started this 6 times? Because of what?
I work maybe an inch and decide, okay, I had a little doing double knitting. It's double knitting.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I have to watch which color I'm going to take, because they're so fine and they're every other color. It's like working on one rib.
And so what are you making there?
This is the Never Had a Scarf Like Me pattern from Ravelry. It's a double knit Genie and Aladdin.
Oh, yeah, you posted that in the group, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on here. That's for when I'm listening to an audiobook and I can wash my hands.
Okay, we'll put the link to that down below.
Yeah. And
what yarn are you using for that? I know you posted in the group, but remind me what you chose.
It is Wool-like. Is the name? It's Loops and Threads Wool-like from Michaels. Simply because that was the yarn that was listed on the pattern.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And then I saw it and I thought, I could use worsted weight and have a blanket instead. but okay, well, because it's Genie was always my favorite, and of course with the new movie, I had to start that.
Is it out yet?
I believe so. It is. I just haven't been to see it yet.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is I live in the middle of nowhere. Like, I don't know. The last time I went to the theater was well over a year ago. I don't even know if it's out or not. So. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been to a theater, too.
Oh, and did you see they were putting out there's going to be a live action Mulan, too.
Oh, yeah. And that's something about they're getting rid of the little Mushu dragon.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, he's a Disney. He's Disney all the way. So as soon as there's something going to be released, I get to hear about it. Pros, cons. So I know Mushu's not going to be there. That's one of the few that I haven't seen the animated movie either.
Right. So what are you holding up there? That's a hat?
This is a Cringer Hat. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
A Ravelry download. It's supposed to just be a tiger, and so of course colors got changed to match He-Man.
Now, hang on. Was that double knit or is that just?
No, this is strand.
Okay, gotcha.
But that would have been an easier first double knitting pattern. This is my first double knitting that I've done here. This is a Christmas gift from last year. This is still getting worked on. I brought show and tell.
Good. Oh, right. The mitered.
Yeah.
Was that from a kit or was that tell me about that.
Okay, this is a knit picks. They do have a kit.
Right, I knew I'd seen it somewhere, right.
Yeah, and I have a quarter of it done.
Yeah, that's going to be really big.
Oh, yeah, and then I've also, it's been requested to be bed size.
Sure.
And if he buys you incredible needles for your birthday, you have to make a bed size Afghan. So
you knit whatever he asks you to knit. Right.
He's, yeah, definitely knit worthy and
then some.
And then some. See, that's something that I've added, I think, to when we've talked about knit worthy. There's knit worthy, and then there's also yarn worthy. I mean, if I want to make you something and I know that you'll like it and you'll appreciate it, but you might not take care of it, it might just be thrown.
Yeah.
So then you're not going to get good yarn.
Oh, I know. So have you, I don't know if you're doing this or not, but you know how on the channel we're doing the block of the month at the squares for the big vintage cabled Afghan thing. So all the yarn that's up here, this is, have you ever had Madeline Tosh?
I have not.
So nice. So my husband picked all the colors. He picked all the shades of gray. And he knew. I mean, we've been married almost 30 years. He knew what we were getting into, what this costs. And he's like, oh, no, this will be great. I mean, he was totally supportive of that because, he knows it's going to be like the heirloom. We're going to have it until we're dead. So
forever, and then kids will fight over it when you're gone.
Or I'll just have to make another one, or I'll just put it in my will that they have to wrap me in it when I go get cremated, and then that'll be that. There won't be any fighting.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to solve that fight.
I do have two. I have another very large Celtic Afghan project going. It's called something about the Celtic Sampler. I don't know. It's on my Ravelry, but that's a king size bulky weight. I mean, that's like winter in Wyoming on your bed. So, So I don't know. There'll be more than one giant Afghan. So
it'll be way too warm for Kentucky. Way too warm for Kentucky weather. No, I haven't started the Nora's yet. The Nora's Afghan.
Do you think you might?
Yeah. I'm kind of on the fence. I have to finish this one and another one like it for Christmas last year. So, yeah, I mean,
the cool thing about the channel. I mean, the videos are there indefinitely. You can do whatever you want or not, or yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sure. So, what do you think is the most complicated thing you've done? Was it that Aran coat, or?
Yes, I mean I don't know if it's because I was self-taught, but to me, no matter what your stitch, whatever your pattern is, it's one stitch at a time.
Right.
You just what the next one stitch is.
Right.
So, like when I was teaching it at the fabric store. Well, oh, that's too complicated for me. No, it's not. You know how to knit. You know how to purl. You've got the yarn over. Everything else is just air. You can do it.
You totally can. And that's what I tell people. You learn a couple of basic things like knit two together, but you can knit. So you can knit two together, right? It is one baby step at a time. And yeah, super.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so honestly, yeah, I guess that was my big one to date was the coat, and it was very much I didn't split it. I didn't do the stitching down the steek. I waited till my parents had come to visit, and I said to Mom, like, here's how we got to do this. And I had her use my machine to stitch it. And then, no, you're going to cut it. That way, if something happens when you cut it and it unravels, I can blame you.
Did she go for that?
Oh yeah, she did. She cut it. She had no qualms in cutting.
Now, is your mom a knitter too?
No. She wants absolutely no part of knitting.
But she was willing to cut it.
Well, yeah, because she didn't. Yeah. I've done everything I can to get her just to pick up and knit a square, and nope, not having it.
It's just not her thing.
And in the last couple of years, I guess in the last year or so, she's gotten back into crocheting.
Okay.
Because she did a little bit of crocheting before she went back to school, and then now that there's kids, and now that she has grandkids.
Oh, okay.
That my brothers have children, and she can find this cute little pattern for, one of the granddaughters, or something for the grandson.
So does anybody else in your family knit then, or just you?
No, just me. Yeah, nobody else has the time or patience. Or.
But I think it's so cool that you decided as a child that you really wanted to do this, and you had the determination to stick with it. And I mean, that's just fantastic that you stuck with it, even as a 9-year-old, and then persevered with your little Reader's Digest book. I think,
right?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And now you're just cruising right along.
Now I just,
So you're double knitting now.
Yes, this is double knitting. Like I said, it's the first time I've tried the double knitting.
I haven't done it yet. It's on my bucket list for sure, but I haven't tried it.
Well, I found on Ravelry a couple of squares that one of the groups did some squares to put together to make an Afghan.
Okay.
So I'm all about cotton yarn. So, okay, we'll get some cotton yarn. And I did 2 squares with cotton yarn.
Oh, so you tried it out that way.
Getting my toe in the water.
Yeah.
I already had the yarn. To start the project, but I just hadn't started the project by that time. But yeah, I did 2 coasters. They're
okay.
Maybe 3x4, maybe 4x5. I mean, they're just little squares.
And that went all right. Was there a lot of cursing and ripping, or did it go okay from the get-go?
Oh, it went okay. There might have been 2 times I restarted the first one over.
Okay.
And then the last mistake I left a mistake in the first block. He actually sat down and drew out one of the Pac-Man ghosts.
Okay.
And his name underneath it to do as a square.
Okay.
And just above the N in his name, I somehow got turned around or confused, and it looks like a little star above the N in the opposite color on both sides. So, right. Okay, I'll leave that. That's not supposed to be here, but I'll leave it. that can live there. But, yeah, other than that, no, I didn't.
It's a design element now.
Right? That's it, exactly. No mistakes, just a little design enhancements. And got through both of those, and it was fine.
Right.
And then I got out these size 2 needles and this little bitty thin yarn.
And decided you're going to make the Aladdin scarf.
Yep. It should be done in a few weeks.
Now, you mentioned audiobooks. Do you listen to knitting podcasts as well?
Sometimes. I have a couple of YouTubers on a couple of the YouTube channels that I watch.
Yeah, we're always looking for good things to watch and listen to. Yeah, go ahead and share.
Yeah, I mean, there's Roxanne Richards is the first one that comes to mind.
Yep.
I really like, there's more of ones that I don't like that I've quit. I listen, yeah, your voice just isn't doing it. I just can't, nails on a chalkboard. I can't even think of the podcast, not that I would call it out if I could, but.
No.
Yeah. But it's
there's people that have, said snarky things to me, and I'm like, that's all right, move on. It's okay. It's
right.
fine.
I mean, you have your followers, and
you find the people that you like, and that's okay. That's totally fine. And the people that don't care for me or for my teaching style, that's all right. It's the internet. They can go find something else. That's okay.
Right. There's plenty of other knitting channels.
Yeah.
I do a lot of movies when I'm knitting. The one that's always the one that's always nearby is Clue from 1985. That's one of my knitting movies. I know. I got all the dialogue down, and
you lip sync along,
right? I know that one. Murder on the Orient Express, both the 74 and the 2017 versions.
I have yet to watch that. Wasn't there a BBC production just recently? Not a movie, but like a series, like a mini series that maybe has like 5 or 6 episodes from that.
I'm not heard of it, but
if I find it, I'll message it to you. If I find it, I might have seen it on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'll look. Yeah, I can look for that too. The one from BBC that I liked so well was And Then There Were None. They did that one a few years ago on BBC, which is Agatha Christie. I mean, I'm giving me several times I've said, today's knitting's brought to you by Miss Marple and whatever tea I'm drinking, and that's my afternoon.
There was one, I think it was on Amazon Prime, but it's a Agatha Christie, but it's a new version, and I'm probably gonna not say this right. Hercule Poirot.
Yeah, you're right. You got it.
He's played by John Lithgow.
Really? Now see that one I've not seen that one.
I'll send you the link. If I find it, I'll put it down below, but I'll send it to you too.
Great, thank you, because that's one I would want to see.
Well, yeah, obviously he's fantastic. I mean, you
can
see him in that role, right?
Yeah, you can. Really, because what would the word be? Not necessarily nervous tics, not tics, but
just
the way
his mannerisms.
Yeah, the ability to look like you're judging even if you're not. I guess that's where I'm going, is being judgmental. Perot does that a lot.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I've done the big box set of Perot. They have the big box set with I can't think of his last name. It's David. He did all 50 stories for the BBC. They were re-released on TV. They're on.
I can see him in my mind. I mean, but I don't recall his name. But yeah.
But I do a lot.
I like the Agatha Christie ones though, because you have that intrigue and that mystery, but they're not like super gory or violent or bloody or.
But and see, I do a lot of YouTube. That's just I do lots of YouTube. Just find something like one that I was watching this morning. It's called Briefcase. 2 words, briefcase. And the guy gives historical cases of murder and walks through sweet little Auntie Carrie's poisoning everybody with thallium. Starts with the background and the setup of her life, and then her crime, her trial, and how it all comes about and ends.
And so the person who hosts the channel, are they just like an armchair detective, or are they like a retired police or what?
Just armchair. Just he studies murders, I suppose. Right? And you got to keep them on their toes. I think that's one of the ways I got the really great birthday present. Watch enough of those, and you'll get lots of good knitting stuff.
So what's on your knitting bucket list? Like, well, double knitting. Obviously, you're tackling that.
I've got that one. That one's I'm working on. Really, anything new and unusual that I can find that I want. Having been, again, going back to this Elizabeth Zimmerman thing, I hate to purl. But now it's a necessary evil, and I don't even notice it with this double knitting.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because I'm working 2 colors. Usually, most people will tell you in the past, I have made everything on very thick yarn because I don't want to use little needles. I want it to be done quick. Dishcloths on size 11 needles, people don't care for that. It's done. But now I'm finally going to smaller needles. A full Fair Isle cardigan. That's one of the things I need to work on.
So are you a sock knitter then? If you don't like tiny needles, you don't do very many socks, I would imagine.
Well, now I guess in order to say that I keep a sock in the car all the time, there's always a sock going in the car because
a travel project, right?
Yeah, I don't drive, so I have a sock in the car. Or if I'm going on a long trip, then I'll carry something more substantial to work with. But it wasn't until this last year that I started using smaller gauge needles. Because anything that I see that I like, I can copy it shamelessly on a circular needle and make it the gauge a little bit bigger. And you figure out, there's a little bit of algebra, but you can do it and get away with big needles and just circular. And yeah, this is the first flat something that I've, other than this scarf, this is really the first flat purling that I've done in quite a while.
Well, and the thing is the continental knitting, I get confused when I've tried the continental knit. I get confused about the purling because it's just so unnatural to me.
Yeah, that might be what the problem is, because like I said, I've never been one to purl. And I've tried to do this double knitting with one color in each hand, but to get the yarn to manipulate to the back for the knitting and then both to the front to purl and then both back for the knit stitch.
Right.
That it's just too fiddly for me. There's too much, just yeah. And I mean, so doing this has been the first thing that I can say that I've purled using continental. Really.
So you're talking about, I was going back in my mind where you were teaching at the knit store and that gal came in and wanted help and she didn't believe that you were the man knitter instructor.
Right.
So does that happen? Do you get a lot of looks when you're knitting in public? Or maybe, because it is, I mean, in our twisted stereotypical culture, it is unusual, which I find odd because like in Europe, back in the day, all the men knit. And so what happened? Like, why did that go away? Was it a matter of men didn't have time? Or, I mean, why do we have this like stigma about it in our American culture?
Well, because I think everything in our culture is very straight-laced, for lack of a better word, that there's binary and you either fit in this box or that box. There's no center box, so you're either
don't mix the boxes now.
right, and you can't mix between because you've got even today there are people that have psychological holdups when their wife makes more money than they do, when the wife's the breadwinner. They still have that. The old knitting guilds in the Middle East were all men knitters.
Yeah.
And I've been sharing some of my, it's Mary Thomas's knitting book, years old, and she's describing this in this book, how all the Arabic men were the knitters. Mm-hmm. And then I was on the Purl Together Facebook page, scrolling through posts, and someone had done a triangle shawl. I can't remember the pattern or the knitter.
Okay.
And showed pictures of it blocking. And he saw it and said, that's a really cool rug. Because he'd been learning about the Arabic rug. You had to be able to do a rug in knitting to join the guild, to be a master knitter. And so I opened up the pictures and was showing, it's a triangle shawl. But you could put another triangle with it and stitch it together to make a prayer rug, right? Yeah. So that's going to be one of my next, there's going to be 2 shawls the same to pin together because, he was noticing that he saw it as, it was in brown colors. It was a beautiful shawl. It was gorgeous.
Did you save the post so you can go back and find it?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
It was just in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going to be one that I'm going to have to put together.
Sort that out. Right. Yeah. Do you knit in public very much? Do you get like weird comments from people?
No, I really haven't. I do. Like I said, I do carry yarn. I carry something everywhere I go.
Oh yeah. Do you have like anxiety when you don't have something with you, or you're like, wait, we're about to leave and I haven't figured out what I'm going to take with yet? And I get all
exactly. Yeah, I got to have something like keep a sock in the car so I don't have to remember.
Right.
So of course, and I'm also figuring out we're going to Disney in a few months.
Okay.
We're doing our yearly trek to Florida for Disney. This is the first year my parents are able to go. They've never seen Disney World. So, of course, he's got us a week booked in one of the resorts, and it's going to be a great knitting thing. Since my accident when I fell, I can't do as much roller coaster riding or rough.
I'm sure that amount of walking And for viewers, Jim and I were talking before we started the podcast. He broke his back in several places. What you said, 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would think like walking through Disney World and Epcot. I mean, that's going to be tedious and difficult.
Oh, I have a motor chair I'll use.
Oh, like you have one of those scooter thingies with the seat and the.
Well, mine's actually got the gear shift at the side, like a electric wheelchair.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I'll have that, and I mean, if I want to ride, I can get up and ride something. Otherwise, I'm not doing all the walking. And if I'm, I've been stressing over, what am I going to take with me to knit while we're at Disney?
Right. Screw the rides. We don't care about all that. What are we?
I've got to take some knitting along.
Yeah.
And so it dawned on me that my dad has nothing that I've never knitted anything for my dad.
Oh.
Never have. So I'm going to take a vest, a sweater vest that I know he'll like, end up with a shawl collar on it, kind of figuring if I'm going to use cables or not, and figuring out what I'm going to put together. But that's going to be my Disney knitting this year.
Right.
And yeah, I've never really had any. I have noticed a couple of looks, a couple of scoffs, maybe being in Kentucky, and just to be honest, and it's not the most broad-minded place to live.
Well, but there are exceptions, and in fairness, lest we become the stereotypers, there are, I'm sure. I mean, I can stereotype I can say that, well, everybody in Kentucky's a hick, just like you could say that everybody in Wyoming's a redneck cowboy, but neither one is true.
That's correct. So
in fairness, I think in our culture, seeing a man knitting in public is certainly out of the ordinary.
Oh, it is. It is. And
I think you might get a sideways look, or and it's not necessarily judgy. Maybe people are just curious.
Oh, yeah, no, that's correct.
Or I would like to think that. I would like to be positive and think, maybe I'm wrong, that people are just mostly curious and not all,
Well, I mean, sometimes you do get to hear little side comments to one another while they're, and that's the way I look at it, is like, that's you. You go do you. And
all right, you go do you. I'll be over here enjoying my knitting. Bye.
Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah. True.
So, yeah, I mean, that sort of thing. Once people figure out I'm a knitter or know that I'm a knitter, I get some knitting questions. I get questions about knitting, or of how I started knitting. What's this all about that I'm sitting here, at Walmart because I've walked enough and he's going to finish grocery shopping while I just sit down at the little bench in the front and knit by the door until he's done because I don't want to walk anymore. Actually, this month is going to be the first knit night I'm going to be able to show up to at our lovely yarn store.
Okay.
Because I've been shopping with her for months, and their knit nights are on Friday night, and that's just not a night I can get away. So this month is going to be the first one. It's on a weekend, but I'll have transportation.
Shout out to your local yarn store. What's the name of your local shop?
Oh, our local shop is the Native Twist.
Okay.
And it's knitting, crochet, spinning.
Okay. Do you spin? Have you ever done that?
I want to spin.
Okay.
I plan to spin. I have socks about that. A good friend of mine is or she was. I think she's taken all of the critters with her when she left. She is a alpaca and llama farm.
Oh.
So, and I think I told you I have a problem finishing things off. These have been done for months. One's alpaca and one's llama.
Show us what that is slowly, because it was just a...
Oh. I think this one is the alpaca, the llama. One's alpaca, one pair's alpaca, one pair's llama. This, I think, is the alpaca because it's more rough, and then the llama, soft.
It might be the other way around. I always thought alpaca was softer than llama.
It could be.
I might be backwards.
But
somebody will leave a comment below and straighten me out on that.
But I went to visit with her, and she gave me an entire pelt.
A fleece?
Yeah. I got an entire fleece that it had been shorn off, and those come off kind of in one big piece.
Yeah.
And it was Tina the llama, I think.
Okay.
Because it was named Tina, and someone says because of Napoleon Dynamite. I've never seen that film. I don't know. She gave me an entire pelt and a couple of skeins of wool to come home and make her and a good friend of hers socks. Real life happens. We were gone out of town for a couple of days, and I had this fleece in a big plastic bag in this room. And when we go away, we leave our dogs we leave them out in the kitchen. And we had actually we were driving, we were like 3 hours away. I mean, it was a there and back kind of a trip. By the time we get home, the cat knocked the gate over. So I walk into, I'm guessing it's alpaca fur everywhere. It looked like that old commercial where the cat sneezes and he's bald. That was what my entire house looked like, where the dogs had, because I was planning on, I was just at the point of getting the carding brushes, and I'm gonna do this, and the dogs ate it. And it's like, I could try to pick it all up and put it, no, it's gone. It's just gone forever. And that was my plan. So I need to get these socks in the mail to her, because since I finished them in December, November, December, except for weaving in the ends. And she moved. The entire farm moved from Kentucky to Florida.
Wow.
So yeah, I need to get those in the mail to her. So,
I have what's called a monkey list. You know, the monkey on your back. Things that are just ridiculous little things that really, I mean, if you just sat down, it wouldn't take you more than an hour to finish X, Y, or Z, or whatever it is.
X, Y, and Z in my case.
So I have my monkey list. I call it my monkey list. And I always, things like that I like, I just need to finish it. It's not going to take that long. And I always feel so righteous once I do it. Right?
Well, this huge scarf, I had asked Newt if he would model it for me, because I need to put the picture on my Ravelry page. I mean, it's sitting there without a picture.
Yeah.
But it's not finished because there's strings hanging from it.
Because you just need to weave in the ends.
Right, and I'm like, those ends are not strings hanging from it. It's not what we call it. It's not strings hanging down. It's just the ends, and it'll take me 2 seconds. So yeah, I'll do that at some point.
Instead, you're double knitting an Aladdin scarf.
Right. I mean, and that's even better, because both ends would be hermetically sealed, so I can leave as many ends out as I want to, and nobody will be the wiser. Back Netflix knitting.
Right.
Reina the Teenage Witch was one. Stranger Things. You have to
see. Okay, I have never seen it. Is it? I don't do scary. I do not do scary.
It's not gory scary.
Yeah, but is it gonna freak me out like scary, suspenseful? I'm a wuss.
In places, you're safe. You're safe. It's actually a very good series. It's a really good series. I want to say I don't like the jump scare thing, but in the 80s, I was all about Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I never watched any of that. No, I never watched any of those.
But this is set in the 80s. Everybody's got that really cool 80s hair.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not really, there's a psychological it's not a psychological thriller. You just have to try it. That's I can
classify it as sci-fi.
Yeah, it can be classified sci-fi. It's not really horror. I mean, there is a few jump scares. I mean, the monster jumps out and grabs somebody, and then they disappear. You don't see what's happening to them. You just
know they're gone. Bye-bye.
Just know they're gone. The first season, they killed off our favorite person in the first.
Are you spoiling? Don't tell me.
No, I'm not telling you who it is. I'm just saying they did kill off they've killed off my favorite character in the first season, but it's still a really good series. Getting away from Netflix, I have my, of course, Game of Thrones, my Outlander.
Yes. Now, again, you know how I was saying Agatha Christie, I kind of like the Agatha Christie because, you don't have a lot of violence and it's the intrigue and the mystery. I will say I did watch the whole Game of Thrones thing. I did. I mean, it's really not my kids. No, I mean, it's definitely not family viewing.
Yeah, I've really gotten into the Outlander. We're getting ready to start it over. Newt's not seen any of it. So we're going to start that one over. I didn't get through very much of Game of Thrones. I have all the seasons on DVD and I've not watched it all yet. Part of me is I want to read the books.
Oh, okay.
And
can you read and knit at the same time? If it's just stockinette or something, can you read and knit at the same time?
Yeah. Once upon a great story. I ordered this wool to make my nephew a sweater. He was maybe 4 or 5 at the time. He was little. And it was corrugated ribbing around the cuff and the bottom of the sweater. So I got through that, turned off the TV, and I got my little leather book way down, and I was reading this book and knitting while I was working on his sweater. And when I looked back up, I was halfway done with the body of his sweater, 3/4 of the way done with the body of his sweater, and I was halfway through my book. So I finished that.
And meanwhile, half a day has gone by outside.
Right? I mean, it's been a couple of hours. But like I say, a small child didn't have to be it wasn't a big sweater.
Right.
After that, I got my sleeves finished, attached the sleeves, did the yoke of the sweater, never did the grafting under the arms and weaving in my ends. I found that sweater not long ago.
Oh, my word. And now your nephew's like grown up.
Oh, yeah, he's like 24. So I told him I'm going to finish that sweater up and he can put it on a teddy bear, give it to his kid. I mean, I got it all done except for that. And I'll do that some other time. Keegan's not coming to visit, so I don't have to deal with that right now. When they're coming down to visit, I'll get it. Yeah. So
never happened.
Yeah. And I mean, he has some other stuff that I've made for him, but I just have never woven never woven the underarms together, never finished the ends. Here it is hanging with all these threads hanging off, waiting for, just waiting to get that Kitchener stitch and it'd be done.
You gotta reorient yourself to become Jimm the finisher.
Right? But that's not as much fun. I mean,
But you'll feel so happy when it's done. It'll be like off the back and it's off the monkey list, right?
Well, but see, it's out of sight, out of mind. I forget about it after a while. Like I said, I knew I had knitted that sweater, and I knew I had never given it to him. It wasn't until we moved that I found it.
When you find stuff when you move, you're like, damn it, there it is.
Right, there it's been for the last 20 years, waiting just to be finished.
That's kind of sad.
No, it's maybe 45 minutes or an hour, and it'd be done. I mean, because it's small enough that I think the underarm stitches are only like 8 stitches, maybe 10 stitches. It's.
So are you very much of a sock knitter then in general? Like, do you have? I mean, people I think are either sock knitters or they're not, because like I am definitely a sock knitter, so I have entire Rubbermaid bins of sock yarn.
See, I'm not like I keep sock yarn because I do it in the car. Other than that, I don't. These socks that I made were simply because
for your friend.
Well, my friend, we made her an alpaca hat.
Right.
And she just loves it. And if this keeps me this warm, she's like, I can walk into the grocery store, and by the time I get back to the milk, I'm sweating. And I would love to have some socks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she was already planning her move to Florida. I just assumed it was going to be longer than a few months away. Right. So I brought home the yarn. It's the 1st of November. Brought home the yarn. Got the socks done. A couple of weeks, I got both pair of socks done. Mm-hmm. But I never finished. I need to send them to her. I never took them back and dropped them off to her.
But like, what kind of socks are you knitting right now? Like, what do you have in the car right now?
What I have going on right now in the car is it's just
I mean, are they just basic socks like for you?
Just vanilla socks, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
for me.
get them cuff down or toe up?
I recently did my first toe up. I'd always worked cuff down, and I have huge feet. And at one point, I tried to be a sock knitter. Well, I mean, I bought this slew of sock yarn, and okay, I want to know which heel I like best. Do I like my afterthought heel? Do I like the heel flap? What kind of short rows? And so I made 5 or 6 pairs of socks.
Right.
And I couldn't wear any of them.
You don't?
Well, I couldn't. I just simply couldn't. I do the long tail cast on. It's supposed to be elastic. They tell me it's elastic. But it would not fit over my foot there at the heel.
The arch? Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, nope, not going on.
So you have to do your long tail cast on with a larger size needle then?
Well, no, I've recently, I don't know if it was on the Purl Together group or somewhere, I saw the whole put your finger down and to there and then do your next long tail. I'm just using this as an example.
Oh, right. So you're adding more.
But, yeah. Where adding room between those stitches.
Yeah, you're drawing more through. Right.
Where normally I would just, I was young. It was years ago. I actually, I gave all those socks away to somebody, and I saw them recently, and most of it was superwash yarn,
right.
superwash wool.
Yeah.
And they were no longer pink and purple. They were purple. They were purple and dark blues, and now they were pink and
light blue.
I try to come up with it where they'd been put through the wash so many times, and so they were loved. But
right.
Yeah, so I've just recently started a sock that I think will fit myself. We'll see.
Well, I hear you. My husband has a size 13, so.
Yeah, I'm a 12. I understand.
Yeah.
My brother, my younger brother's 13, and I've not made him socks just because.
Because he has giant feet.
He has giant feet, and just between us behind needles, he's not really knit worthy.
He probably won't watch this podcast, or I could edit that part out.
But yeah, no, he would laugh because he would agree that he's not.
Right.
Last year for Christmas, I made all of the nieces and nephews Harry Potter hats from their sorting.
Oh, okay, sure.
Like the Ravenclaw one,
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Show us. Tell me about that.
Well, this, knowing that it's going to my brother's family, is made out of that yarn that I hate to admit that I've ever used.
Which is?
Yarn.
It's what?
Red Heart.
Yeah, that's a giant hat, though, too.
It is. This is for my little brother's big head. And it's like, yeah, I'll just I'll use nasty acrylic, and I mean, once it's washed, it gets softer. I mean, there's a room for everything. My brother's families, it's very the older kids, it might get left at somebody else's house.
Well, yeah.
It's, I can do these, and I only had 12 to make. So,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, it can be, but I got the 12 made, and then I still have to make mom and dad's. And I figure I'm going to do theirs with good wool. I'm going to make theirs a little bit special, a little bit fancier than I will for the kids, because I don't want to do for. Now, we all have those kids in our lives that are not knit worthy in and of themselves. And I'm not going to say which ones would or would not be knit worthy, because I love them all. But there's some that you're like, here, I will give you this wonderful, like a cloud, and I'm going to give your sibling this scratchy piece of needs to be washed first acrylic. You can't really do it that blatantly. At the same time, I can say that I've made sweaters for the kids, and again, they won't be watching this, if you get the scratchy sweater, you're probably not the favorite kid.
Uncle Jim does not like you best.
That's just the way it happens. I mean, it's like, I've got this that I know you're going to take care of, and like I have that one nephew who's 13 that texts me every day to see how I'm doing. He lives 8 hours away. That carries on text conversations with me that I know him better.
Right.
Then I have others that I haven't heard from in a few years until I go to visit. I get told that they all have cell phones now. I don't have the cell phone number of 3 of them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get
the good wool.
The good wool's not, you're not getting a good wool.
You gotta become eligible for the good. There's criteria.
That's it. You know, there's knit worthy, and then there's yarn knit wool worthy, and you can't really, like I said, you can't hand knit hats for these 3 and not for the other 3. You have to keep it fair. I mean, you don't really have favoritism much. Much, you know, I mean, but yeah, the one who calls me every day, you're probably a little bit more knit worthy.
More yarn worthy for sure.
You're more yarn worthy. Yep. I guess you're knit worthy by blood, yarn worthy by your attitude. How's that?
I don't know. I have relatives that I would not knit for at all. So, but that's because truly, they would not appreciate it necessarily, and that's totally okay. It's just not their jam. It's not their thing, and that's fine.
Right. Well, and at the same time, you know, that's also one of the hardest things to do as a male knitter. Being a guy knitter, if I really want to work a lace shawl, I'm not going to wear it. It's not going to be for me. I have to find someone to give it to. And I mean, there's been several times in my life where it's like the big knitted poncho, the Mañanita from Megan's Schoolhouse Press. She's taken out the center stitches to where you wear it like a poncho.
Okay.
Great idea. I love the pattern. I've made at least 8 of them over the years to give as gifts. The first one I made, I actually gave to my grandmother, who used it as a tablecloth, as a table cover, which she put down like her white tablecloth, and then put this shawl with a big opening in the middle, and she had somewhere to put a big vase of flowers in the middle of the opening of the shawl, and it was nice. I mean, okay, being that you wouldn't use it, that's how you, okay. I mean,
do people spill food on it though?
Oh no, that was one that it was made up that no one ever really ate it.
Okay, it was for decoration. Okay.
Yeah, it became a decoration. It wasn't used for mealtime.
I see. Well, you said tablecloth, and I'm thinking about like gravy and Jello, and you know.
No, this was to be seen. More of a table center.
So I want to go back to what you said earlier about like you would make these shawls, but you're not going to wear that necessarily, or maybe you do. I don't want to make assumptions, but I'm just saying I find that there's things that I want to make that are not my style but I want to make that project because of the techniques, because of the process of knitting it. Maybe I want to do that knowing that I probably won't wear it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, well, what am I going to do with it? I mean, I enjoyed knitting it, and I particularly enjoyed the yarn that I chose, but then you got to find somebody that would appreciate it, that you'd give it to. So do you have like a gift ready, like, I don't know, if I was going to make a hat that I don't need any more hats. So I need to start like a box of just gift things that are ready to go for whenever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But a shawl, like some kind of a fantastic, Shetland lace shawl, I would love to make something like that, but I probably wouldn't wear it.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's a matter of finding a recipient for it.
Yeah.
Luckily, I worked in beauty salons for quite a while, so you get to know people that you work with.
Sure.
and all the ladies that I worked with at the time, you know, that I started working in the
so you were a hair guy? You were a hair guy?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I was a hairdresser. Yeah, the ladies that I was working with at the salon, you know, there was a skincare, you know, our skincare lady very much embodies what I would think of being that person that would wear this lace shawl, not because she's a matronly lace shawl kind of a person, but for lack of a better word, kind of a hippie. You know, it comes across like a hippie. That's the kind of, you know, okay, one of those 8 different peacock collar shawls, because it looks like a great big collar. It could be, you know, it looks like, and you're using these, you know, knitting needles that are like shovel handles, and you're you know, and it's actually recreating a lace doily. Mm-hmm. Same amount of rounds, same amount of stitches, but on great big needles.
Yeah.
And
that reminds me, have you ever made Elizabeth Zimmerman's the pie shawl?
I've not done a pie shawl. That's actually, I have yarn to make a pie shawl.
So that's on your list, maybe?
That's on my list, and I've actually, I've been collecting, you know, of course I collect stitch dictionaries, stitch Bibles. And it's, I want to figure out what I want to put in it before I work on it. And I mean, I've got, that's good yarn. It's great yarn that's going to be on the shelf until I find someone that
right thing.
Here's a really nice piece of lace that somebody might show up and need a nice piece of lace, and here it is.
Yeah, not necessarily the idea of minimalism. Not really.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Well, now see, I actually, in one of our moves back and forth across the country, I lost all my needles. They're in storage somewhere.
Oh, no.
So I opened up the Wish app. I don't know if you know anything about the Wish app. That's very inexpensive stuff from Asia and different places that are really inexpensive. It's like crazy inexpensive. And I looked it up, and okay, they've got circular knitting needles. These wooden circular knitting needle sets. You get the entire set for $5 and $3 shipping.
Okay.
And it's just a little plastic tube that's been stuck out, you know, that has a little groove that's glued together, and that's what, you know, 2 needles in a plastic tube. And of course, I got all the sets, each size set. I need 16 and 32, and I need all of them.
Yeah.
Even ordered the double points, and I used those for a while, thinking I'll get my good needles out of storage.
Right.
Well, earlier this year, I decided, in the middle of last year, I guess, I decided, no, I need to just go ahead and break down and buy new needles. And I bought the Knit Picks Interchangeable, and that was a huge
improvement.
Step.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I got these.
And now, woo!
Yeah, you'll have to pry them out of my cold, dead hand. Nope, they're not going anyplace.
Yeah. They will never see. They will never see the inside of the storage unit.
Right? Nope. These will. I'll leave the cat here before I leave my needles here.
Talking about Elizabeth Zimmerman and blankets and all that. Have you ever? I don't know why I went back to this. Have you ever knitted like the baby surprise jacket?
That's on my bucket list. That's one.
I have the grown-up version. Have you seen the grown-up version of that?
Oh yeah, all the books. yeah, I have. It took her years to figure out the adult version, from what I've read. But yeah, I love the baby surprise jacket. I really. There's a new book. Her grandson reworked I want to say method, for lack of knowing exactly what he did. And now there's a surprise scarf. There's the surprise dress.
Huh.
And he's released it in a new book, and they have it with a kit that you get the yarn to do a scarf and enough and to do a baby jacket.
And this is on Schoolhouse Press website?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was Kelly Swanson's book. That's the only book that I don't have. Anything.
You were talking about Stitch Bibles or Stitch dictionaries. I mean, if you could recommend like I mean, sometimes people that watch or viewers, I mean, if you were only going to have 1 or 2 stitch dictionaries, like what volumes have you found the most useful that yours or time and time again you go back to?
Oh, I can't name off any right off, because like the one that I do go back to all the time, it's Knitting Stitch Bible. That's why.
Oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
That's what it's called.
Okay.
I've got a couple of lace that are like Estonia lace knitting that they have they have patterns to work, you know, the lace in, like they have the shawl pattern, but then they have the stitch dictionary in the back.
Right. And I have a couple of, I have at least one of Barbara Walker's books that's like that.
Oh, uh-huh.
And there's a series, and I would love to have her. I don't have them all, but I would love to, you know. One thing I want to do on the channel at some point is do like a choose your own adventure kind of a shawl, you know, and show people that you can, you know, you can increase to here, and it's just about multiples. It's just about choosing what you like the looks of as far as out of a stitch dictionary, whether it's cables or lace or a panel of ribbing or whatever it is, and just doing a little bit of super simple math and then making all that work out.
Yeah.
And, you know, designing your own socks that way if you know how many you're casting on. I mean, it's just about multiples. I think people don't realize that that's attainable. They don't realize that, yeah, you can totally do that. You don't have to find a pattern that's already written. You can do it. Well, Jimm, it's been delightful to visit with you from Kentucky. I'm always so thankful that we have the technology to do this, you know, that, you know, 5 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, we couldn't even do this. And you're in Kentucky and I'm in Wyoming. And
right?
Well, yeah. Isn't that cool? I'm glad you found the group because you're one of the only male knitters that like ever says anything. And so we always appreciate that perspective. And I'm glad you pipe up and share stuff.
I really like the Facebook group, and I kind of lurk sometimes on the Ravelry board, but I do pipe up for the Facebook group because I think that is just a wonderful technology that we have that, you know, we can all be so far apart and at the same time we can become a community and be connected.
Right. And that's what I had hoped to create when I started the channel and the group was just that sense of community, you know, and whether I ever made any money off it or not, I just thought, you know, I live so far from anywhere that like I don't have knit night. I don't have a local group because I just live so far in the middle of nowhere. So I kind of had to create that, and I'm glad that it's become that for many of us. It has become that. So I'm glad you showed up, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.